Well, looky what we have here. This is what I call the HK Trinity. So we got lots to discuss here, but I wanted to bring out a few very rare pieces here and talk about each of them a little bit individually. So I'm going to go through the technical names of each one of these because, as we all know, HK does not, well, at least did not, import a lot of these directly. So there are a lot of companies that have to import them after the fact, just to kind of get them in a civilian format in the United States. So this is the TommyBuilt T36C, which is obviously a G36C. I don't even want to call it a clone. I'm not going to call any of these clones because you know what? At the end of the day, they are exactly what they are. Exactly what they are modeling. So T36C by TommyBuilt. It is aka the G36C by HK, followed by the Zenith. Now I'm going to mess this up. This is the Z5 RS, aka the MP5. And then we have the Omega Gideon Shadow, aka the UMP 45. So why are all these made by different companies? Right? Why are they all named differently from their legitimate variant? Well, that's because HK, for God knows what reason, and the United States have made it near impossible over the years to import some of HK's most popular arms. So the G36 has an HK variant called the SL8, if you can even call it a variant, because it's a bastardized version of the G36 platform. And it takes a lot of work in order to convert it to something that looks like this. So you get a guy like Tom from TommyBuilt that comes along and says, hey, I can make these things, I can convert them, and I can sell them. And I bet you people will buy them. And yes, indeed, people do. Then you get Zenith, or MKE is the actual manufacturer out in Turkey, but they are a little bit different because they work on nothing but HK equipment and machinery to build these things. So they are certified and licensed to work on HK factory factory tools and factory machinery. So these are as legit as it gets to the original HK variants. And now that the HK MP5 is actually out for the civilian market, made by HK, it literally pisses me off so much that I bought this about 2 months back, and now HK decides that they're going to bring this out. But in either case, I absolutely adore this thing. It's super, super well built. And I can honestly say that I do not care whether or not it's got HK written on it or not. This thing is just as good, if not better, than any other HK built firearm I've ever seen. So that brings us to the Omega Gideon Shadow. So this is actually a company. There's two companies that make these. So Omega is the primary company, and Thor is a United States defense contractor that actually imports these as well. So anyways, they import them. They do all the work. HK does have the USC variant, but again, it's a bastardized version of this gun. And so thankfully, a company has come along that makes these things. So this thing is pretty sick because it's gray. It's been Cerakoted in this, what I call HK gray, because there is a specific shade of gray that some of these HKs have had over the years. And this is damn well certain to be a match here. Even the magazines that came along with it have been coated to match. This thing really likes to eat 5.56 rounds versus 2.23. It'll take them both, but at least for the break-in period, I realized that it really does prefer the 5.56 round. The Zenith has been freaking flawless. This thing just runs so smoothly. The action with the roller lock delay is absolutely superb. I cannot explain to you in words what it feels like to shoot one of these things, even when compared to another 9mm subgun that's similar, let's say the MPX or the CZ Scorpion. There's a noticeable difference when you shoot the MP5 roller delayed variants of these 9mm blowbacks. So it's super accurate and super smooth. And like I said, the machining on them, the fit and finish is just superb. It's excellent. I cannot recommend enough the Zenith brand for anything that you want that's going to be an HK variant. Now the UMP, it looks badass. I haven't enjoyed it as much, just because it's got a very unusual feel to it when shooting it. It's a soft shooter, but it does tend to have a little bit more recoil than what I'm used to, even out of a 45 ACP subgun. So I've owned the Chris Vector, and that one, in my opinion, shoots considerably better than this one does. So I'm likely going to be getting rid of that thing reluctantly, because I still think it's worth having in the collection, but it's just too expensive of a piece to just have lying around if you're not going to put good use to it, and if you're not that in love with it. But with that said, this thing I absolutely adore. I just love the look of it. I love how it fires. I love the ergonomics. This is my centerpiece to my collection. I just love it. Comes in a custom Pelican hard case, fitted for this exact setup with the magazines and everything. It just feels special taking this thing out of the box, and it definitely turns heads at the range. But what can I tell you guys about these things that you don't already know? Besides the fact that they are hard to find, you rarely see them. Are they worth it? Let's talk about price. So this bad boy right here, now it came with, so TommyBuilt did not make a lot of these gray ones. And when I say he didn't make a lot of these gray ones, I mean at the time that I purchased this was only the second one he had made. So as it stands right now, I'm not sure how many are out there, but I could probably say it's safe to say that you can probably count them on two hands. So in terms of being exclusive, definitely worth the money right there. But let's just talk about exactly what that dollar amount is. So this thing with the trigger, with the rails, with everything that you see here, 3 magazines, Cerakoted, without the sight, was $3,800. $3,800, and that comes with the Pelican case. All right, very expensive. Is it worth it? Let me get back to that in a second. All right. The Zenith here comes with everything you see minus the the top rail that came from Midwest Industries, and obviously the sight, but it does come with the fixed sights front and back, which are excellent quality. And it comes with a different handguard. So I put the classic wide grip handguard on there, but it comes with everything else, including the brace. And these go for roughly 2 G's. They're just under 2,000. Is it worth it? We'll get back to that. Which brings us to the Omega Gideon Shadow. So this thing retails at $1,900 with the brace. No sight on it. It does have the front and rear fixed sights. They're excellent. Does not come with the rails out here in front. These are an extra $100. Yes, you heard me right. An extra $100 for these 3 rails. Very, very steep. Very steep price. Is it worth it? Okay, so let's start here. I think that this is worth it just to have as part of a collection, and to have some bragging rights at the range, right? You don't see a lot of these. They're very rare. People will recognize them out in video games and whatnot. So it's a nice recognizable gun. It fires and functions flawlessly. Not the smoothest shooter, like I mentioned, but it is accurate. It is very reliable. It's pretty lightweight, and it looks the part. It just looks sick, right? It looks like a beautiful subgun. Very classic subgun look to it. So it is worth the amount of money that you pay for it. However, that's not to say you can't find a better value in something else, like a Chris Vector. But then you don't have a lot more than the Chris Vector to compare it to. I mean, look at the LWRC SMG 45 that just came out at $3,000. There's not a lot of difference in terms of the look of them, but the SMG 45 obviously is built more like an AR platform, with more of the AR ergonomics. And I can pretty much guarantee LWRC is an awesome company. So I can guarantee, without having ever seen one in person, fired one, but just based off their reputation alone, that's going to be a superb firearm to purchase, and one that's going to be built in order to justify that $3,000 price tag. This, on the other hand, mostly polymer, right? And you're saving $1,000, but is it worth it when you can go out and get a Chris Vector for $1,500? Probably not, unless, again, it's more of a collector's thing and you want to stand out because it's not something you see every day. Then it's probably worth it. The Zenith, all day long, it's worth that price tag and then some. If HK is able to sell theirs at $3,000, I guarantee that this thing is worth every penny. Every penny of that $2,000, and I would make that decision 10 times out of 10 all day long. Which brings us to the G36. Is this thing worth it? Absolutely yes. And I'll tell you why. The wow factor, in terms of, again, seeing something super rare, the look of it, it just looks so different from every other AR or AR platform that's out there currently. Given the fact that this design is pretty old at this point, we're talking, I think the original G36 came out like in the 80s, and this thing still looks super modern and way ahead of its time. The ergonomics, like I said, are excellent. It's very reliable, runs clean, it's piston driven. It's accurate. It's just a badass looking gun. And in terms of exclusivity or exclusiveness, it is obviously super, super rare. So why would you get rid of a thing like this? Or why wouldn't you dish out the money to get one when you know that you are likely going to be the only person you'll ever see that will have one? at the range. So, value is kind of in the eye of the beholder. And it's very hard for me to give you a right or wrong answer as to what's worth what money. But again, depending on what your needs are, depending on what you value, I value something that's rare, which a lot of us gun owners do. Obviously, people that are collectors try to look for the more rare stuff to buy. And even though these are not predominantly HK made, they are HK inspired, and they're every bit as good. So if you're going to go spend your hard-earned money, take it from me. The T36 from TommyBuilt, excellent platform, very reliable. Only had one jam on this thing. It was on the first round I fired, and I happened to learn the hard way that it does not like 223 when breaking in. So that round was a 223 round. It did not want to extract. Got that cleared out. Put some 5.56 through it. Broke it in. Hasn't had any flaws since. Knock on wood. No flaws with this thing. The Zeniths are excellent, and you don't have to take my word for it. Every review you will ever see on a Zenith, people will be ranting and raving about these things because their fit and finish and their quality throughout is superb. It's unmatched, really, in any of these clone type manufacturers. And then the UMP, or the Gideon Shadow, again, very reliable, very robust. But, if there was one of the three that I least favored, it would be this one. But aside from that, they're all worth it. They're all reliable. They're all beautiful. They're all head turners. And this is the Trinity of the HK collection. Outside of like their pistol world, right? HK pistols are phenomenal as well. But in terms of their small arms, these are three of the most iconic that they have in existence. And so to have all three of them is pretty special, I would say. What are your thoughts? Let me know.